Hi, how are you? I'm your host Grim, or you can call me Jay. And I see that you've come around for some very interesting horror tales. Without further ado, let's get into the first story. As I got onto the elevator, the man getting off whispered something strange to me. Don't get off until you reach the ninth floor. No exceptions. Hey man, my interview's on floor 5, I said to him. This man said it more stern, but more concerning. I'll only say this one more time. Do not get off until you hit the ninth floor. No other floor is safe. It's crazy, but something about the way he said that penetrated my skull because he was beyond serious. And he looked extremely nervous, like he had to fight every instinct in his body to say that to me. Doors closed while I thought to myself, who the hell says something like that? I went to hit the button for the 5th floor. Some anxiety came over me. I shrugged it off and pressed it. The guy was probably just off his rockers. The elevator went up and I scanned my surroundings. A TV bolted to the top of the corner on the elevator, playing the Weather Channel, was a mirror for the back wall. My bad, there was a mirror in the back wall, now looking at it. And then there was some cozy lounge style music playing. You know, pretty standard elevator stuff. I wouldn't say standard, that's pretty fancy for an elevator. Whole TV, and I think that's pretty cool. Now arriving at the 5th floor. My first thought is weird. Not sure if I had ever been in an elevator that announced each floor it was arriving at. I was sure that it worked in this building. I was very sure if I worked in this building, this would get pretty old quickly. I am very sorry for that intrusion. Would I love to afford YouTube Premium and not have that happen again? Of course. But back to the scheduled programming. Sorry for that outburst. The doors opened up on the 5th floor with a loud ding. In front of me was a reception area with a woman seated at the front desk. She stood up from her seat. Mr. Davis, you're early. The gentleman's warning from earlier played in my mind. We'll be ready for your interview in a few moments. In the meantime, please feel free to take a seat. Thank you, I responded. If I'm, early, may I come back in a few minutes? Nonsense, we'll see if we can speed things up. He's been very excited to see you. The elevator doors started closing, but something fierce came over me and I held them open. I wasn't sure what to do, but everything did seem fine. Granted that the receptionist did seem a little bit more eager, but beyond that, everything from my vantage point looked pretty normal. And pretty unremarkable too. That is, except for the portrait off at the far end of the floor, it was very large. I couldn't tell what the picture was, but I did see a group of employees staring at it, almost admiring it. Your wife's name is Meredith, right? I froze as the receptionist said that question to me, and then something overcame me that alerted me. I had never, ever told her this. I don't remember the job application ever asking me for my wife's name. She then continued on. You two are thinking of having children. If it's a boy, you want to name him Sam? My immediate first thought is, what the fuck? Forget that she was right on the money. That was something I'd never spoken to anyone outside of my wife. Before I could answer, the office workers surrounding the large portrait had started singing Happy Birthday extremely loudly. And they did it in complete and perfect unison. Someone brought out a birthday cake and presented it to the portrait. The portrait then, after a bit of squinting, was a very large version of my high school yearbook photo. I backed into the elevator and pressed close, and I panicked as it took a sweet time to register. Oh no. Press, come on. After what felt like an eternity, the doors started closing. As they closed, I heard the receptionist. I'm so curious to know what your insides taste like, Michael. Fuck me, I thought. After hearing that bone-chilling statement, I clicked onto the 9th floor. I needed to go to the 9th floor. I found the 9th floor button and pressed it. It felt like it didn't register my push, so I pressed the button again, and again, but nothing was happening. Screw it. I'll go back to the ground floor, I thought to myself, back to the start. As I went to press the G button, I realized it was missing. Just that one button. Gone. I began getting claustrophobic, and I took in deep breaths to prevent myself from getting a full-blown episode. The elevator started moving again. A panel above the elevator doors lit up with the following number 11. Was someone calling the elevator? I started talking to myself to self-soothe. It's okay, someone will call the 9th floor soon. That's where I'll get off. As the elevator then reached its new destination, I noticed that the background lounge music then changed to an instrumental arrangement of Happy Birthday. I'm not sure, but it definitely wasn't my birthday. I glanced at the weather report at the TV, and it said it was sunny all week, so at least that's a silver lining. But then suddenly I heard, now arriving at the 11th floor. Ding! The doors open. I hung around the inside corner of the elevator beside the button. No need to leave and have another nightmarish experience, right? An old woman stepped onto the elevator. She then said this. She smiled at me as the doors closed, and I thought this should be easy to explain to her. But with a lump in my throat, I asked, which floor? Ground floor, please. I'm sorry, ma'am, but that button is missing. Maybe we can wait till someone calls us to the 9th floor? 9th? No, I'll just go to the 2nd floor instead then. She went to press the button. Ma'am, I do not think it's safe. I have plenty of friends on the 2nd floor. I'll be fine. And she pressed it. I didn't feel comfortable cornering an elderly stranger. Well, she probably could be an eldritch being in a seemingly haunted elevator, but I tried to convince her again. I know this sounds weird. Very weird. But no floor except for the 9th is safe. What weirded me out even more, she smiled and said this to me. Dear, it'll be alright, you know? I like to take all the opportunities that are given to me. It's a shame that you turned your opportunity down. I know the folks on the 5th floor are very disappointed. I got into the furthest corner of the elevator that I could. I saw the reflection of the old lady in the elevator's back mirror. She was ghastly and otherworldly. Now arriving on the 2nd floor. Ding! The doors opened and she smiled at me again. And then she exited. I poked my head around the corner to look at the 2nd floor. It was damp, old, and looked like a cave. And then I heard a low rumble. A man dressed in a fancy suit approached the elevator doors and held them open before they could close. You getting off here too, champ? The guy said. I heard that 5th wanted you, but I think we can give you a better offer. I'm good. Really good. You sure, bud? The salary is $800,000 an hour every. Sorry for that slight turn off, but right back to it. You sure, bud? The salary is $800,000 every hour. I'm good, I said to him. I'm kidding, bud. The salary is we remove your eyes so you don't have to see him. What the fuck? The floor went pitch black. The low rumbling got louder, much louder, and started to reverberate within my ears. Suddenly, the businessman grabbed me by the collar and tried to pull me out of the elevator. I clung onto the ends of it and screaming fuck the entire time. I started kicking and headbutting the living shit out of this guy. I was able to make him let go of me momentarily as I desperately pressed the closed doors. Miraculously, the elevator responded much quicker this time, and they closed immediately. I tried pressing the ninth floor button again. It didn't work, so I pressed 8 instead. Anything to get away from that hellhole of a floor. I heard a loud banging on the door as the elevator took off, like an aggressive knock. Bang! 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 As I saw the floor numbers rising. 3, 4, 5. The banging continued just as loud. What the hell? 6th floor. 7th floor. The banging on the door didn't stop. Now arriving at the 5th floor. I pressed the button for the 23rd floor, and just as we arrived on 8, I mashed the closed doors button. Just as soon as the elevator doors were about to open, the banging continued as the elevator doors started denting in. The elevator continued going up. 9, 10, 11. The banging softened. 14, 15, and it kept softening. 19, 20, 21, and it disappeared eventually. Now arriving at the 23rd floor. It was gone. I felt my body kind of go back to normal. I exhaled. I felt like I narrowly avoided the cataclysm. The doors opened and I scanned a new floor, and I realized I was back on the ground floor. That's what it felt like. Did I escape? Was I free? A man stood not too far away from the door, but he seemed familiar. Hey man, was this the guy who got off the elevator just as I got on? Hey, it's over, man, you got out, he told me. I felt a wave of relief wash over me, but I had to fight it. But you said the 9th floor was the only safe one, right? That was a damn trick. You followed your gut, and you were right. 23rd floor, the real safe floor. You can step out now, man. I did not leave. Something just built up within my throat before I could be able to speak. But he spoke before I could. There's someone here who really wants to see you. I couldn't move. He wants to give you a job. He thinks you're going to be great. Why the fuck couldn't I move? He's in the other room. I'm going to go fetch him, okay? All you have to do is look at him. It's going to be weird at first, but then it'll be okay. It's a permanent position. Great benefits. Is fully on site. But no better birthday present than a new job, right? I lowered my gaze to the floor, and then, through muttering, I kept saying, it's not my fucking birthday. As he left to fetch whoever was responsible to fetch, he gave me the following response. Relax. No cussing on the job. We're all family here. It felt like I could only move a centimeter at a time, a true snail's pace. I inched my finger towards the close door button. I heard footsteps. He was coming back. With every fiber of my being, I pushed through and I hit the button. The doors closed and I collapsed to the floor, free from whatever weird force was stopping me from moving. "I'll let you two talk more in the elevator," I heard him say from outside the doors. What? Instinctively, I then looked around. To my surprise, there was nothing. The elevator was the same as before. A lengthy exhale. I was done with all of this. At this point, I would have taken death over going through all this bullshit. As I pondered my next move in this hopeless situation, I noticed something strange. The button to the 9th floor was lit up, an ominous crimson red color. Before I could do anything, my phone started ringing. I checked the call and it was my wife. I answered. "Babe, I don't know what is going on. I'm sorry for not even thinking about calling you. I'm trapped in the elevator and some messed up stuff is happening. Should I call the cops? It's just, hun, don't go to the 9th floor." What? Wait, how do you even? It's a trick, honey. You have to trust me. The man from before was lying to you. It's not safe. None of this has been safe. How do you even know everything before it's happening? You just need to trust me, hon. I pause. So what do you want me to do then? A demon on the other side of the phone answered because I heard, "Go to your interview now." I hung up the call in a panic and I mashed on the 9th floor button. The elevator started rising again. Even with the phone hung up, muffled within the demonic voice, it kept pounding into my ears. "Go to your interview. Go to your interview. Go to your interview." I pulled out my phone and I flung it to the ground as hard as I could, and I stomped on it angrily. The warped sound of "go to your interview" slowly died out. But suddenly the elevator started shaking. It was continuing to go up, but it was faster than usual. Really, really fast. Almost like the 9th floor was now way below me. It felt like an amusement park ride with no brakes. Loose. Dangerous. Flinging up at an insane speed, almost as if I was falling upwards. But I pressed 9, I screamed out loud. It didn't matter. Now arriving at the 41st floor. What? I was brought to my knees by the speed of the elevator traveling faster and faster. Now arriving at the 90th floor. The buttons didn't even go past 52. Now arriving at the 141st floor. What the hell? I muttered. Now arriving at the 230th floor. Now arriving at the 401st floor. I felt like I was inside of a bullet. The pleasant voice of the elevator lady was getting deeper and deeper as we rose. Now arriving at the 840th floor. The voice started croaking, and this time it was more than demonic. Now arriving at somewhere nice. A sudden halt. The elevator stopped. The doors opened now. The panel above the elevator had no indicator where we were whatsoever. As I sat, all of what I can describe sounded like hell. Low grunts of pain, check. Crackling, check. A dark hymn, check. Was this even where I was supposed to get off? Before I could even ponder anything, a soft tapping on the elevator and a voice from outside. "Do you want to trade?" said the voice. I decided to bite for reasons I still don't fully understand. What do you mean? What if you stay on this floor forever and I get to go home? I think I'm good, but I really want to go home. It almost sounded like the voice of a kid. Bloody hell. I'm sorry, kid. I mustered back. It's okay. An awkward silence between us. He told me that he wants to wish you a happy birthday, the kid said. I then said to him, hey, I think you got it wrong. I then told him, hey, I think you got it wrong. Today isn't my birthday. It is, he responded. It's the first day of your new life. Your birthday. An awkward silence then followed up before he said, he wants you to look at the TV. What? I looked at the TV in the corner of the elevator, hoping to see one constant throughout this cursed trip. But what saw me was even weirder. Instead, the TV was now showcasing what looked like CCTV footage from a camera of the exact elevator I was in. A live feed of this exact moment. Except the TV showed me laying down, looking up with a wide smile on my face, and something above me on the ceiling looking down at me. Him. The lights in the elevator went off. The elevator plummeted downwards as I closed my eyes and screamed for dear life. I waited for the impact, for what I knew was my demise. Here it comes. Here it bloody comes. I'm not ready. I'm not ready at all. Now arriving at the 9th floor. Ding! The door is open. Wait, what? 9th floor. I peeked out from the elevator. Another reception desk. Wait, is this really? I was interrupted by a voice that said, you coming or what, you fucking moron? I got to my feet. The feeling of distrust, anxiety, all of that, especially that fear intuition, was gone. I felt light. Fuck it. I stepped onto the floor and approached the counter. The receptionist handed me what looked like a button for the elevator. For the ground floor, she said. Single use only. I took it and headed towards the elevator. Then I turned back to her. Can I take the stairs instead? She shook her head. If you didn't like the elevator, you're really not going to like the stairs. Fair enough. I got back into the elevator. I said a silent prayer to myself as I put the button where it belonged. It fit without issue. I pressed it and the elevator went down smooth, buttery smooth. Now arriving at the ground floor. Ding! As I got ready to exit, I realized that the ground floor button was missing. Strange, but I didn't dare to linger on it. I marched out, ready to leave. And I noticed a woman running onto the elevator. I tried to stop her, but something in my body wouldn't let me. The most I could muster was putting my hand on the door to relay a message to her before the door was closed. I said, don't get off until you reach the 9th floor, no matter what. The woman just smiled at me. Happy birthday, Michael. Well, Jesus Christ. Imagine actually going through bloody hell and back, especially at a job. That was an intense read because I was thinking he was going to get torn apart limb from limb eventually, like it was Fear and Hunger. Let's look at another story. Hopefully that one doesn't put us on edge like that one, and my headset doesn't decide to die in the middle of a story again. Well, well. My mom sent me some old home videos for my birthday, and now I'm running for my life. I don't celebrate birthdays anymore. When you get older, you try to forget that they even exist. You really don't need a reminder telling you that you're becoming an outdated dinosaur, and I've always found celebrating the approach of your own death is a rather morbid notion. So I suppose having a birthday in the middle of a nationwide lockdown is somewhat of a godsend. That never stopped my mom from sending a present, though. She always found a way to annoy me in the best way possible, and she outfiddled the devil just to put a smile on my face. Or maybe you're an asshole. I don't know how she did it, but this morning when I let my cat Dave out, I nearly tipped over it, an anonymous brown package just lying there, inside the flat. How the hell did she pull this off? I chuckled internally as I desperately tried to decipher what was in front of the package. It was clearly in her handwriting, but I'd recognize it anywhere. The worst handwriting you'll ever see. Like if you grabbed a crow, dipped it and dipped its beak in ink and let it peck randomly on the paper. It read, "To Jeffy, love Mom." I yelled to Dave to hurry up, but he wasn't having it, so I just closed the door and brought the package inside with me, carefully placing it down on the kitchen counter. Mom was a next level prankster, so I made sure to investigate every inch of it, gently shaking before finally opening it. I scratched my head in puzzlement. It was a DVD. Not much, not nothing. So, it was clearly in her handwriting and all, but, well, does she even think about burning a DVD? Because this is really, really absurd. Does she even own a computer? Maybe Dad helped her out, or my brother. There was always something she could have done to just pull this off, so I shrugged and I plopped the DVD into my desktop. After whirring around for what felt like minutes, I was finally greeted by a single video file called Jeffy's Home Videos 86 to 90. I caught myself smiling sheepishly in the reflection on my screen. I didn't even know we had a video camera back then, so it was a very thoughtful surprise. Sort of an atypical gift from my mom, but I was still halfway expecting it to be some elaborate prank or maybe a Rickroll. But no, to my surprise, it was genuine home videos from the 80s with ridiculous low resolution. You know, it looked pretty shitty. They seemed to be in the wrong order though, starting when I was 4, then younger and younger, which proved that how technologically challenged my mom was, who compiled all of it together. I sat for about half an hour enjoying every second of this shaky cam time travel, reliving moments I completely forgot, laughing at how weird everybody looked back then, and boggling at how I was still alive, a stupid, stupid kid. I sent my mom a picture of me and my bottle of wine, relishing the ancient videos with the caption, "Thanks for the best gift ever." But then it got strange. I just got done watching the summer of '87, when we spent the entire holiday out by Grandpa's cabin by the sea. I was 2 years old then, and my brother Justin must have been 5. It was a wonderful trip down non-memory lane, since I had no recollection of it. And I was anxiously looking forward to the videos from my first year. I didn't have any photos or anything, but hey, still better than nothing. The summer of '86, according to date in the left corner, more than likely maneuvered by Dad, looking over a tall white fence. A family of 3 was gathered on the other side, a husband, wife, and a tiny toddler. I didn't recognize any of them, but I suppose they must have been our neighbors. We moved every couple of years when I was a kid, so nothing new. It was something about Mom's work, but it was an educated guess. There was something barely audibly whispering as the camera was then lowered, now facing the grass. I replayed this part several times to just make sense out of it, but all I heard that made sense was, "We move, leave, hurry," were the only words I could make out. Then the canvas was raised, once again peering over the top of the fence. The family was gathering out by the front porch of a house. The toddler with his assumed mother and the assumed father operating a hose spraying water on assorted flowers. Then the camera moved again, focusing on the cheery face of my mom. She was wearing a bright red sun hat, just real cheesy looking, and I giggled uncontrollably. "Let's do it," she said, grinning widely. A chill ran down my spine. Those exact words have no meaning without context, Could point to literally anything. Like, for example, let's go get ice cream. Let's go drive down to the beach. Innocent things, But the way she said it, and the expression on her face, I instantly knew something wasn't right. Moments later, the shaky cam got shakier, now running around the fence and into the backyard of the family. The cameraman, assumedly my dad, stopped at the gate, zooming in on the woman's face. She looked shocked. She looked extremely shocked, scared even, holding onto the toddler tightly and backing away towards the front door. Then my mom came into view, and I realized why the woman appeared so frightened. I had to replay that moment several times because I couldn't believe that was her. Why would she do that? Because next she was holding a knife, a huge butchery thing. She turned and grinned toward the camera, waving the knife around playfully before suddenly charging at the woman, and blood-curdling, terrifying, high-pitched screams echoed throughout the kitchen. I stumbled to the floor as I watched the carnage unfold. Mom stabbed the woman brutally in her left leg, causing her to collapse on the front porch, and the toddler rolling down onto the grass, wailing hysterically. The father became aware of what was happening, his eyes widened as he yelled something, running to the woman's aid, only to be stabbed in the neck by my mom as he came within arm's reach. The next 2 to 3 minutes of just agony of what I presume is mom stabbing the two repeatedly. The fleshy, pulpy, mangled bits remained of what a human could have been. Absolutely drenched in blood, Mom turned to the camera, laughing maniacally. And the worst part, she suddenly noticed a wailing toddler in the grass and quickly wiped clean the blade on the inside of her dress, placing it down to the porch. She then gently lifted the toddler, hugging him tightly, smearing blood all over the child. "We'll name you Jeffy," she said, and kissed me. That was me on the cheek before waving to the camera. I slammed the door. I slammed the laptop just so I could feel safe, and I staggered back, hyperventilating uncontrollably. This was not a prank. Far from it. How could you do that? A deep fake, maybe? But then the next thing that shook me to my core. My phone vibrated. Mom sent me a text. I read it. Then again, and again, and again, and I grabbed my laptop and I ran because she said, "I didn't send you any videos, but your father is coming to sort it all out. Stay where you are, Jeffy. Everything will be alright. Don't move. We'll be right there." After the text from Mom, I didn't have time to think. I didn't even know what to think either. I just knew I had to leave before my dad arrived. So in a panicky haze, I grabbed my laptop and Dave, who had been loitering around the outside of the door, and I ran into the deserted street, sobbing hysterically. I had no idea what I was doing, where I was going. I guess I just figured that running was a solid plan. I got about halfway down the block before the rational part of my brain interfered. Why am I running? I should go to the damn police. I slowly came to a halt as I considered all my options. How sure was I that this wasn't a prank? How could it be a prank? Who in their right mind would even remotely find this funny? Well, if you're asking me if you think this is a prank, you're a fucking idiot. But back to the story. No, it was the truth, alright. There was no denying it. I gently placed Dave on the ground as I finished getting my phone out while gallivanting all over, and I dialed 911 with trembling fingers. 911, what's your emergency? A woman answered. I need help. My mom says, my mom said that she wasn't really my mom, and my real parents were killed when I was a baby, and now she sent my dad, who isn't my dad, after me, and I don't know what to do. Sir, you're not making any sense. What is your location? So I got this DVD. I continued waving my laptop around like she could see it, and it's got everything on it, like the murder and my mom and everything. There was a long pause, like the dispatcher was considering whether or not to hang up on me, which in retrospect sounds like sense, but I sounded like a maniac, and I was tripping around in a nervous circle, bobbing up and down erratically, tears streaming down my face. And I was looking at this rather peculiar garden ornament shaped like a rat, and moments later, I was on the run again. Laptop under one arm, Dave in the other, phone hazardously kept in between my cheek and shoulder. My father's car went by. You gotta hurry, I yelled into the phone. He's here. I somehow managed to pocket the phone while juggling the laptop and Dave. Stumbling down the street aimlessly, I could hear the sound of car tires approaching from behind. My dad, more than likely. And in a moment of panic, I decided to run to a random apartment, banging on the front door awkwardly with my elbow. I saw movement behind the closed curtains, and then a pair of inquisitive eyes glancing at me before disappearing again. Of course they weren't going to let me in. I was a grown-ass man in my pajamas carrying a laptop and a fat-ass cat named Dave. But I was sure hoping that they would call the cops on me. Jeffy? My dad's voice beckoned from behind. Please, son, get in the car. I think you're a little bit confused. He was parked by the car. He parked his car by the curb, hanging over the opened car door like we were having a perfectly casual conversation about the stock market or something. He had this awkward smile on his face, and there was a genuine look of concern in his eyes. No way, I said, feverishly trying to think of a way to escape that didn't require me to use any of my arms. I saw the video. The baby and my mom and everything, and he laughed heartedly, slapping the roof of the car theoretically. Oh, that Jeffy? Jeffy, he said. It was just a prank. You have to know that, right? It's just another one of your mom's silly shenanigans. I think she went a little bit too far on this one, but I'll give you that much. So here's a weird thing. I sort of believed him, sure. Looking back on it, was a very, very stupid thing to do. But you weren't there. You weren't in my head. You don't know them like I did. They were just so painfully dull, a boring, old couple. Nothing about them ever stood out. They were so normal, so unbelievably normal. And a 5-minute video can't undo decades of carefully planned indoctrination. Okay. Hanging my head in shame, and I did feel shamed then. Ashamed I made such a fool of myself. Ashamed I'd accused my parents of doing something so utterly heinous. That's how deep it went. That's how easy it was for them to control me. That's a good boy, my dad said, patting me on the back as I climbed into the back seat. Dave was getting fairly fed up with all the back and forth, and he scratched me up severely on my panicky, half-assed escape, so I focused on calming it down. Where are we going? I inquired, staring out the window, idly. We were heading out of town, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out. I heard a soft chuckle. It seemed innocent, but for some reason I didn't like the sound of it. I figured a few old days by the old cabin would do you wonders. Get you back on track. We cannot move lest we leave a demon behind in the hurricane, you know? It was such a strange thing, leaving a demon behind in the hurricane, and I couldn't shake the feeling I heard that somewhere. I swallowed deeply as I then asked him, so how did Mom do? How did she make the video? I then gulped. I stared at my dad's neck as I asked the question and noticed a slight twitch as a suddenly, seemingly innocent question registered to him. Oh, you know, he shrugged. Computer programs and such. Yeah, but which ones? I then said. It seemed very sophisticated. I mean, your brother helped out. He squirmed. Yeah, they spent all of last week on it. Complicated stuff. If you ask me, I wouldn't believe a lick of this shit. This guy's a dumbass. Justin was there last weekend? During the lockdown? He drove 2 hours for that? He didn't respond right away before briefly looking at me in the rearview mirror. I could tell he was having a hard time keeping up with these lies. Yes, I mean, we planned it out for months, so we couldn't, cancel it out because of some silly old bug. That makes sense. Yeah, I lied. He let out a sigh of relief, and I could see the smile returning to his face. The next part I didn't really think through. It was an impulsive decision, you say, an act of misguided self-preservation mixed with varying degrees of rage and fear. He didn't see it coming, I'll tell you that much. An arm around his neck, squeezing as hard as I possibly could. The part I didn't think was going through my head was that we were in a vehicle operating at high speed. If you've ever been in a car accident, especially the ones where the car sort of flips midair, you might have experienced a certain calmness as you just accept the finality of your imminent death. You know there's nothing you can do. You'll soon suffer the lethal impact of the violent collision. So you sort of sit back, metaphorically speaking, ready for the inevitable. But sometimes you'll make it. Sometimes you'll come out of the flaming wreckage, laptop and Dave in hand, leaving the unconscious, fatally wounded of your murderous fake father behind to burn slowly to death in the most horrible way to imagine. And that's okay. Great even. Just go with it. I then sighed. There was nothing around for miles, and I was in a very bad shape. I stumbled confusedly into the dark woods, not quite knowing what to do or where to go. I just had to get away from that car, away from the flames, away from everything. I can't say for how long I wandered around in the dazed stupor, but it was getting dark before I found an old cabin. It wasn't much. Looked like a shed, really, but it was enough. I cracked open a window and climbed inside, finally allowing for fat-ass Dave to roam around on his lonesome for a few. Well, I did find an old, worn-down couch, planting my face down into it. My phone started vibrating minutes later, and it was Mom. I felt my heart beating out of my chest, and I stared at the ominous, pulsating green flash. I wanted nothing more than to ignore it, but I knew eventually I would have to face her. Hello? What do you want? Jeffy, my mom said, cheeringly. I'm so glad you answered. I've been trying to reach your dad for hours, but he won't pick up. I don't suppose you know what he's up to. He's, dead. I said, I hope. Car accident? Crash? There was a pause, and I could hear her breathing heavily in strange intervals. That sounds like him, doesn't it? She said coldly. Fell asleep at the wheel, no doubt. Silly old fool, wasn't he? She sounded so unfazed, like she was discussing the weather with a neighbor. Just lifeless and human. You can get fucked! I suddenly yelled. It was really out of character for me, and it's not something I normally resort to. And I said, I got evidence, Mom, I snarled, and you're not getting away with that. Well, what she said next chilled me. We'll see about that, Jeffy, she said calmly. You know I'll always find you, wherever you are, whatever you do. Mommy is coming for you. And she ended the call, knowing full well the state it would leave me in. If I wasn't paranoid before, I sure as fuck was now. How could she find me? I was maybe a few miles away from the car crash, and probably on property within this wasn't the only property within walking miles, and she wasn't stupid. She was anything but stupid, and my phone vibrated again, a text message from Mom. And she sent a photo, and I realized what I was looking at. It was a photo. A young woman and her baby sitting on Mom's couch. I recognized her instantly. It was their neighbor, Jenna, single mom, kinda cute. And I've had a crush on her for ages, but I've never acted on it. Don't know how, you know? A single sentence captioned the image, and it sent a tremor of cold chills down my spine. If you leave me, Jeffy, I'll have to replace you with someone new. Love, Mom. Well, holy shit. Yes, I do tend to get a little philosophical when I'm underneath stress, but I suppose under normal circumstances, it does calm my nerves. But as I sat in that dark cabin, cradling Dave like a baby, my mom's sinister words kept repeating in my head. I felt no relief in delving into the soothing corners of fatalism. The situation required swift action. Swift, decisive, well executed actions. Not my strong suit. So what did I do? I called my big brother. He'd know what to do. He was my polar opposite in many ways. Charismatic, athletic, outgoing, and funny. He could make widows laugh on the day of their late husband's funeral and effortlessly talk his way out of any crime, petty or otherwise. He'd help me out like he'd done before. I'll spare you the boring details of the conversation, which in short involved a lot of ums, and me desperately trying to string together a coherent narrative, and Justin patiently waiting for me to finish. That's all that I know, I murmured to him. I know it's hard to believe, but I swear, Justin, it's the truth. There was a long, silent, awkward pause. And he said to me, I believe you, Jeffy. I don't know why, but I do believe you. It felt like a great burden was lifted off my shoulders. The growing tension in my chest just faded instantly. And even though I smiled, or at least I thought about smiling, for some weird reason, thinking about things like the manifestation of them was enough. And I asked him, so what now? Just hang back, Jeffy, he said. I'll get in touch with police, explain everything, you get some rest, stay put, and I'll call you when I have news. I glanced around the dark cabin. There was nothing but a couch I was sitting on, a table, a few ramshackle cabinets, and a cast iron stove. Yeah, I said, I'll do that, but Justin, please hurry, okay? You know I don't like waiting. Will do, he said reassuringly before hanging up. I sat in the darkness for a while, staring at nothing but the dull wooden walls, trying to make sense of everything. It felt like my entire life was a trick, and I felt like a white rabbit stuffed in a hat, just hidden from all of the heinous reality. I guess I must have dozed off at some point, collapsed from exhaustion, and I knew within a dreamless sleep because I remember swimming in rivers of blood, but I'm not going to dwell on the details. I'm not going to get your anxiety or mind up. I'm not going to just mess with our sanity. I woke up sweating and a vague sensation of my phone buzzing. I must have been asleep for 12 hours, but it barely felt like a minute, and the vibrant rays of the sun blinded me as I stumbled to my feet. My body felt battered and beaten. Well, mainly due to that car crash. And it took me a moment or two to realize that, so yay. Justin, I muttered on the phone weakly. Did you fix it? Can I come home? There was no answer. Just silence before. I said Justin once more. Jeffy? Justin said, his voice trembling. You need to stay put. Don't move, you hear me? Help is on the way, alright? I stammered confusedly. I do not understand. Did they find jail? Did they find Mom? Is she in jail? I found Dave chilling in the warm sun behind the couch and gently lifted him up with one arm. He was a support animal of sorts, I suppose. I always felt calmer when holding him. Oh shit, Justin whispered. His voice was crackling like he was crying or trying to avoid crying, and it really put me on edge. He never cried. They found Jenna at Mom and Dad's, and she's dead. Jeffy, she's been stabbed, murdered, blood all over, absolute mess, just shit. And Mom, I asked, did they find Mom? Missing. Gone, Justin sighed, but that's not all. The baby is missing. The baby's missing. Oh, I muttered, that's not good. No, Jeffy, that's not fucking good, he said with a slight hint of annoyance in his tone. Listen, the cops want to talk to you. It's really important. Jeffy, just, stay put. It won't look good if you run. But why? Can't you just show them that I didn't do anything? Prove that Mom did it. Stay put, you hear, he said sternly. Just stay there. I've given them your location, Jeffy. They want to bring you in. Don't do anything. Sure, I guess, I said, trying to understand what was going on. I'll just sit here with Dave then, I guess. Yes, of course, Dave. He sighed. Stay put with Dave. I'll let them know, okay? Thanks, Justin, I said. Talk soon. He hung up, and I just felt... I felt like I was drowning in the fathomless depths of anxiety. I knew that I could trust Justin, but instinctively I knew he was lying. He'd done it before, leave out certain details to keep me calm and docile. And I tried not to lose my mind. I tried. I couldn't know for sure if the police were coming or whatever. And in my feverish state, I did the exact opposite of what he told me to do. I promptly left the premises, grabbed Dave and a laptop, and stumbled into the forest, not having any idea of where I'm going. Add that to the fact that my sense of direction was horrible, so well, we're heading to disaster. It was somewhat of a miracle that I didn't topple over and fall unconscious in the middle of nowhere. I didn't realize that the extent of my blood loss until I saw my ragged pajamas in the bright sunlight. I was just drenched in blood from neck to toe, crimson flowing all over. I went to some dark places on my psyche in my impromptu hike, revisiting memories, just everything. But I could barely remember anything before the age of 6. Dave seemed to enjoy my clothes, though, and with him, he became a guardian angel. I kept myself hidden through the tree lines for as long as possible, but thankfully the streets were more or less empty when I reached the outskirts of town. It got late, so shrouded by shadows and sneaking stealthily around corners, I was able to get to my apartment unseen by anyone except for the neighborhood hobo, Lars. He'd probably seen stranger things, though, so he didn't seem altogether that bothered by my bloody appearance. I let out a sigh of relief as the doors opened. A shower, fresh clothes, everything I took for granted. I put Dave down, thanking him for putting up with me, and I headed towards the shower. I was halfway into the bedroom when I noticed the smell. It was a really pungent punch right up my nostrils. And I just felt like retching. A flood of memories overcame me as I laid there gasping for air, but they all seemed so fake. Like they happened to someone else. Flashes of screams and blood and death, tears, pain, and torment. I managed to stumble to my feet, switching on the light as I did. But the sight sent me down to the floor again. There was a thing in the bathtub. Once human, I'm sure. Now in pieces. I'd say dozens of limbs, organs, guts bobbing around in a pool of blood and other fluids that probably belonged to the inside of someone's body. I resorted to crawling out of there, slamming the door shut the moment I crossed the threshold. I spent the next 5 minutes hyperventilating, and there was an image that itched in my mind. A head, a face floating around in the ponder of what seemed grotesquely like a parody of a rubber duck, a face I recognized before, a head I'd seen so many times. It was my mom. I anxiously fumbled with my phone, knowing there was one person I could call, but I was immediately greeted by a bunch of unread messages and missed calls from Justin. I guess I didn't notice, feeling an unrelenting dread rising as I rapidly read through them. Are you still there? The cops are coming now. Don't move. Justin, text the first time. This should be right outside. Don't move. Stay put, Jeffy. Was the second one. Third. They're inside. Can't find you. Where are you? Stay put. Where are you? And call me. The fourth text message. Where are you? Fucking shit. I told you stay put. The fifth message. Fuck you, Jeffy. Where are you? And lastly, the sixth message. You're fucking dead when I find you, Jeffy. And well, we're going to read the last story, or the last conclusion of... My mom sent me some old home videos for my birthday, and now we've reached a showdown at the quintessential point. Stick around and get ready to follow up for the next story. I hope you're not too spooked, because Jeffy, you've been a very, very smart man, but very naughty. Hopefully your fate isn't sealed. Toodaloo. The last bit will be coming up soon.